me see. Oh shit. Let me see. I'm gonna put something on. Nah. Wish we had chocolate.
There's Reese's Stands. You want some?
And which is why the only answer to this is to win in November.
And meanwhile, Senator, is
Nah. Wish we had chocolate.
there's Reese's Stands.
Oh.
You want some?
And which is why the only answer to this is to win in November.
And meanwhile, Senator, is
Nah. Wish we had chocolate.
there's Reese's Stands.
Oh.
You want some?
And which is why the only answer to this is to win in November.
And meanwhile, Senator, is
Nah. Wish we had chocolate.
there's Reese's Stands.
Oh.
You want some?
And which is why the only answer to this is to win in November.
And meanwhile, Senator, is
Nah. Wish we had chocolate.
there's Reese's Stands.
Oh.
You want some?
And which is why the only answer to this is to win in November.
And meanwhile, Senator, is
Nah. Wish we had chocolate.
there's Reese's Stands.
Oh.
You want some?
And which is why the only answer to this is to win in November.
And meanwhile, Senator, is
Nah. Wish we had chocolate.
there's Reese's Stands.
Oh.
You want some?
And which is why the only answer to this is to win in November.
And meanwhile, Senator, is
Nah. Wish we had chocolate.
there's Reese's Stands.
Oh.
You want some?
Do music, so I'm gonna do Trump.
And meanwhile, Senator, is
Nah.
This guy.
Wish we had chocolate.
there's Reese's Stands.
Trouble.
And meanwhile, Senator, is
Nah. Wish we had chocolate.
These are the worst. Trouble.
Nah. Wish we had chocolate.
Okay. These, this is what I'm going to be knocking out. Suki. This is a little homage to one of my favorite bloggers, Louie. This is what I'm going to be knocking out. I don't know if you guys follow him. If you don't follow him, Louie. This is a little homage to one of my favorite bloggers. I'm sorry, I keep hearing noise. I just ate dinner. I washed my hands, and now I'm sorry. Didn't put lotion on it. I just ate dinner. I washed my hands, and now I think what am I doing? I wish I knew if I needed this. I have a microphone, but I don't know whether I need it or not. Let me see. I wish I knew if I needed this. There's going to be a microphone, but I don't know whether I need it or not. Let's try this. Now where the hell do I clip it? There. I hope that's better. Okay. Again, knocking out Suki Sue. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be using a standard 7 Oh, you know what? This. Okay.
Far beyond me. This is bigger than Trump. It's happening where
Okay.
millions and millions of people are
Let's listen to
flowing in
Trump.
from all parts of the world, not just South America, from Africa, from Asia, from the Middle East. And they're coming in from jails.
I feel uncomfortable.
And they're coming in from mental institutions and insane asylums. And they're coming in from all over the world into our country.
Big league.
And we have
Big league.
cars with the ridiculous mandates that make it impossible for you to get a car or afford a car. To make it very possible for China to build all of our
Let's
cars.
do this.
It's a very serious problem that we have. We just went through one of many experiences.
There we go.
We had a conflicted judge, highly conflicted. There's never been a more conflicted judge. Now I'm under a gag order, which nobody's ever been under. No presidential candidate's ever been under a gag order before. I'm under a gag order.
This sucks because I want to be able to. I want you to be able to hear our president, and this is repeating on me. So, okay, so I'm going to use a mag, a 7-round mag, and then I'm gonna. Okay. If somebody's watching, can you just hit me to make sure that the sound is okay? I don't know whether it is or not. I'm going to guess that it is fine, but chances are it's probably not. Okay. I should be tattooing myself again, but I just did. I did last week. I did this one. That's going to be my army one. I think that one is pretty decent. Okay. Now, let's get back to our king.
Gag order, where I've had to pay thousands of dollars in penalties and fines and was threatened with jail.
Jail.
Think of it. I'm the leading candidate. I'm leading Biden by a lot.
Suki.
I'm leading
Poor little Suki.
the Republicans to the point where that's over.
Our mamas.
So I'm the leading person for president, and I'm under a gag order by a man that can't put two sentences together, given by a court, and they are in total conjunction with the White House and the DOJ, just so you understand. This is all done by Biden and his people. Maybe his people more importantly. I don't know if Biden knows too much about it, because I don't know if he knows about anything. But he's nevertheless the president, so we have to use his name. And this...
If you guys haven't seen, you have to check out Biden's response to the trial, in that he was in the White House and it was before the meeting with Kansas City with the team, and a reporter asked him in one of the East Wing or wherever the fuck he was at, and he gave the most evil fucking look I've ever seen. Check it out. It's totally Biden.
This is done by Washington, and nobody's ever seen anything like it. So we have a judge who's highly conflicted. You know what the confliction is. Nobody wants to write about it, and I'm not allowed to talk about it. If I do, he said, I get put in jail. So we'll play that game a little bit longer. We won't talk about it, but you're allowed to talk about it. I hope you do, because there's never been anybody so conflicted as this. As far as the trial itself, it was very unfair. We weren't allowed to use our election expert under any circumstances. You saw what happened to some of the witnesses that were on our side. They were literally crucified by this man.
Literally?
He's not an angel, but he's really a devil. He looked so nice and soft. People say, oh, he seems like such a nice man. No, unless you saw him in action. And you saw that with a certain witness that went through hell. And when we wanted to do things, he wouldn't let us do those things. But when the government wanted something, they got everything. They got everything they wanted. It was a rigged trial. We wanted a venue change where we could have a fair trial. We didn't get it. We wanted a judge change. We wanted a judge that wasn't conflicted. And obviously he didn't do that. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. We had a DA who was a failed DA. Crime is rampant in New York, violent crime. That's what he's really supposed to be looking at. Crime is rampant in New York. Yesterday in McDonald's, you had a man hitting him up with machetes, a machete. Whoever can imagine even a machete being wielded in a store, in a place where they're eating, and he's going rampant, and
Big
He's
league.
down watching a trial on what they call crimes. They're falsifying business records. That sounds so bad. To me, it sounds very bad. You know, it's only a misdemeanor, but to me, it sounds so bad. When they say falsifying business, that's a bad thing for me. I've never had that before. I'm falsifying. You know what falsifying business records is? In the first degree. They say falsifying business records. Sounds so good, right? It means that legal expense, I paid a lawyer, totally legal. I paid a lawyer a legal expense. And a bookkeeper, without any knowledge from me, correctly marked it down in the books. A very professional woman, highly respected. She testified. Marked it down in the books as a legal expense. So a legal expense, paid a lawyer, is a legal expense in the books. It's not sheetrock, construction, or any other thing. It's a legal expense. Think of that.
Is it a legal expense though?
Falsification of business records. And I said, what else are you going to call it? What else are you going to call it? Now, I would have testified. I wanted to testify. The theory is you never testify, because as soon as you testify, anybody, if it were George Washington, don't testify, because he'll get you on something that you said slightly wrong, and then they sue you for perjury. But I didn't care about that. I wanted to. But the judge allowed them to go into
There's
everything
no
that I was
way.
ever involved in. Not this case. Everything that I was ever involved in.
Anybody who knows Trump knows that that would have been a nightmare scenario. The DA would have had a field day with him. The judge would have threw the book at him for contempt, because I don't know if you know this about Trump, but he likes to talk. So due to the fact that he likes to talk, they would probably hold him in contempt because he wouldn't shut up. I put my sweatshirt on, now I'm fucking hot. Let me see something. Oh, Suki. Suki Sue. Usually what I like to do is every tattoo I do, I'll put it on myself. So that's why I have many. But I don't have a dog named Suki, so I'm not going to put this one on. The only way I would put this on is if... No, I wouldn't put Suki on. I love Suki. I don't think I put him. Well, who knows?
Okay. Now, the unfortunate thing is I can't play any music on this because YouTube sucks ass. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch back and forth to Mr.
Which
Trump.
is a first. In other words, you could go into every single thing that I ever did. Was he a bad boy here? Was he a bad boy there? And my lawyer said, what do you need to go through? And all you wanted to do is testify simply on this case. Because I would have loved to have testified. To this day, I would have liked to have testified.
Testify.
You would have said something out of whack.
Testify.
It was a beautiful sunny day and it was actually raining out. And I very much appreciate the big crowd of people outside. That's incredible what's happening.
Big
The
league.
level of support has been incredible. So the whole thing is legal expense was marked down as legal expense. Think of it. This is the crime that I committed that I'm supposed to go to jail for 187 years for. When you have violent crime all over this city at levels that nobody's ever seen before, where you have businesses leaving, and businesses are leaving because of this, because heads of businesses say, man, we don't want to get involved with that. I could go through the books of any business person in this city, and I could
Hold
find
on.
things that in
I
theory,
keep doing
yes,
this.
let's indict him,
Off and
let's
on, off and
destroy
on,
his
off and
life.
on.
But I'm out there, and I don't mind being out there because I'm doing something for this country, and I'm doing something for our Constitution. It's very important, far beyond me. And this can't be allowed to happen to other presidents. It should never be allowed to happen in the future. But this is far beyond me. This is bigger than Trump. This is bigger than me. This is bigger than my presidency.
This is big league.
And the people understand it because I just see a poll just came out, the Daily Mail. That was the first one, came out. It was done last night right after the verdict, where I'm up 6 points. 6 points from what we already were. We were leading fairly substantially. We're up 6 points in the Daily Mail poll. Now, maybe other polls come out and says something differently. But a lot of people have predicted it because the public understands and they understand what's going on. This is a scam. This is a rigged trial. It shouldn't have been in that venue. We shouldn't have had that judge. He should have allowed us to have an election expert. We had the best expert, most respected expert, head of the Federal Elections Commission. He was all set to testify. He was waiting for 2 days. And when it was his turn, Bragg's people protested.
Everything.
And the judge knocked him out, said you can't testify. He actually said you can't testify for anything having to do with the trial. You can say what the federal elections is. Well, that doesn't help. Everybody knows that. But you can't testify. So essentially, he wasn't able to testify.
Crazy.
Other people weren't able to testify. But with these people, they were able to use people salacious. By the way, and nothing ever happened. There was no anything. Nothing ever happened that they know of. But they were as salacious as they could be. And it had nothing to do with the case. But it had to do with politics. And do you notice the timing? The timing was perfect. This case was dead. It was dropped by every agency, every governmental board. It was dropped by the highly respected Southern District. They said, no, there's no case here. It was dropped by federal election, and that's what it's about. This is about a federal election, not a state election. You're not even allowed to look at it. They took the state and the city, and they went into a federal election. They're not allowed. The people from federal elections,
They're not
Southern
allowed.
District and Washington dropped the case. Everybody dropped the case. There was no case. Cy Vance dropped the case. And when Bragg came in, he said, this is the most ridiculous case I've ever seen. And who would have a certain person, again, gag order, who would have a certain person like this ever testify? He said, this is essentially one of the worst people I've ever seen, ever, to testify.
Testify.
He said, the craziest case I've ever seen, this is Bragg. Then when they announced I was running for president, a long time later, they decided to revive this case. And they got a judge.
Judge Dickhead.
Marchand, who was responsible for another case that was also brought. It destroyed the life of a very good man, by the way. It destroyed the life of a very good man who went to prison once, and then they just put him in prison again because they said he lied. He didn't lie. I looked at the statements he made. In fact, he didn't remember something and they put him in jail. Again, they've destroyed him. With me for many years, he was an honorable person. He was an honest man. And if you look at what he did, supposedly, never happened. There's never been anything like this. Over the education of his grandchildren.
Oh, Suki.
Over, he didn't report that he had a car or 2 cars on his income. I don't know. I wonder how many people here have cars. I wonder how many people said, oh, gee, I have a car that's worth X dollars. How do you even figure it? And I guess you do have to report it, but I would say probably almost nobody does. Nobody even thinks about it. They put this man, they destroyed this man. But they put him in jail again because they didn't want him to testify. They didn't want him to testify. That's why he went to jail. Put him in jail twice. He's 77 years old. Now, normally I'd say that's an old guy, but I don't feel 77. Nobody ever says that about me. I'd like them to say, gee, we have to have a little sorrow for this man, because they just don't say that about me, but maybe I'm better off that way. I think I'm probably better off that way. But they put him in jail twice. And you have to see what they put him in jail. And he was threatened by the judge. This man was told, you're going to get 15 years in jail if you don't give up Trump. And he was told that.
And he folded.
You're going to get 15 years in jail.
And he folded.
And he made a plea deal because he didn't want to spend the rest of his life. And he was told that viciously. We're living in a fascist state. He was told that viciously. So you can go to jail for 4 months, 5 months, or you can get 15 years in jail. So do a plea. Almost who wouldn't do that plea? Everyone does those pleas. It's a horrible thing.
I would never do it.
There's a whole group of lawyers who
turn on
fight
a
that.
friend.
It's so unfair. So unfair. But they destroyed his life. So many other things. You look at Southern District didn't want to bring the case. Nobody wanted to bring the case. And then you know who didn't want to bring the case most of all?
Your mama?
Is Bragg. Bragg didn't want to bring it. But then he brought it. And they tried to make it a different case. They didn't say legal expense equal legal expense. Again, if I wrote down and paid a lawyer, and by the way, this was a highly qualified lawyer. Now, I'm not allowed to use his name because of the gag order. But you know, he's a sleazebag. Everybody knows that.
Michael
You're allowed to
Avenatti.
find out. But he was effective. He did work. But he wasn't a fixer. He was a lawyer. You know, they like to use the word fixer. He wasn't a fixer. He was a lawyer. At the time, he was a fully accredited lawyer. Now, he got into trouble not because of me.
No.
He got into trouble because he made outside deals and he had something to do
That
with
ain't him.
taxicab
Who's?
and medallions, and he borrowed money.
Oh, taxi
And
cab.
that's why he
So who was
pled.
it?
And then he pled to three election violations.
So election
And as soon
interference.
as I saw that, I said, I wonder why he did that. He pled. He took a deal. Now, he took a deal because he wanted to get off.
Big league.
In other words, I'll take a plea deal
Big
and I want to
league.
get off. And he wanted to make a deal with the Southern District. And they wrote the worst report I think I've ever seen on any human being, other than the report that was written on James Comey by the Inspector General, a very brave Inspector General, actually. Wrote a report that was so bad. This one was possibly worse. The Southern District, the judge didn't let us use it. He said it's hearsay. I said, it's not hearsay.
How's it
He wouldn't let
hearsay?
us use it. This is about the man. But he got in trouble for a very simple reason. Because he was involved with borrowing a lot of money and he did something with the banks. I don't know if it's defrauded the banks, but something happened. You guys know what it is. And then in addition to that, he gave up on 3 things where he wasn't guilty. In fact, they were going to testify in that. The head of the FEC, the Brad Smith, the election expert, #1 rated in the country, was going to testify. He took the plea of 3 things. He just added them in because that gave him more bargaining power with respect to me. But the 3 things that he pled on, having to do with the election and having to do essentially a little bit with me, they weren't crimes. They weren't crimes. Nor is paying money under an NDA. So we have an NDA, non-disclosure agreement. It's a big deal in non-disclosure agreement. Totally honorable, totally good, totally accepted. Everybody has them.
What?
Every company has non-disclosure agreements. But the press called it.
Trump had said, and I think it was what was the interview? Entertainment Tonight. It was either Entertainment Tonight, Current Affair, or was one of those where Trump had said secretly, grab her by the pussy. You don't talk like that. That shit you don't say. You keep that to yourself. That's the shit that came back to haunt him. That's why all these women lib people and everybody that's feminist, they hate Trump. Because he'd grab them. He'd grab them. You know where he'd grab them. Big league. Hold on, I'm finishing this heart. This would be nice if I could put this on Louie. Big league. Okay.
Slush fund and all sorts of other things. Hush money, hush money. It's not hush money. It's called a non-disclosure agreement. And most of the people in this room have a non-disclosure agreement with their company. It's a disgrace. So it's not hush money. It's a non-disclosure agreement, totally legal, totally common. Everyone has it. And what happened is he signed a non-disclosure agreement with this person, I guess other people, but it's totally honest. You're allowed to make the payment. You don't have to make it. You can make it any way you want. It's a non-disclosure agreement. And he signed that. And there was nothing wrong with signing it. And this should have been a non-case. And everybody said it was a non-case, including Brad. Brad said, until I ran for office. And then they saw the polls. I was leading the Republicans. I was leading the Democrats. I was leading everybody. And all of a sudden, they brought it back. It's a very sad thing that's happening in our country. And it's a thing that I'm honored. In a way, I'm honored. It's not that it's pleasant. It's very bad for family. It's very bad for friends and businesses. But I'm honored to be involved in it because everybody has to do it. And I might as well keep going.
I had to stop early on that one,
But I'm
man.
very honored to be involved because we're fighting for our Constitution. The money that was paid legally. There was nothing illegal. In fact, the lawyer in creating the NDA, because at that time he was a fully accredited lawyer. He wasn't a fixer. I never thought he was a fixer. The media called him a fixer, or the prosecutor.
It's funny that he even knows that
He
name.
was a lawyer. And he was fairly good. Later on, I didn't like what he did. I didn't like, for instance, I didn't like that when I became president, he went around and made deals with companies. When I heard that, he was gone. He was gone. And he had payments coming to him. And a lot of this involved things that are very simple. There was nothing wrong. This was standard stuff. All standard stuff. Everything involved was standard. There was no crime here. In fact, I just watched a couple of the reports. You watched Jonathan Turley, Andy McCarthy, Greg Jarrett. You look at all of these people.
Levine. Mark Levine. Oh, there he goes.
All very talented people. Great people.
Sean
Many
Hannity.
more. Many more. And they don't know me, essentially. They don't know me, the legal scholars and experts. But I looked at them. I watched Turley this morning saying, there's no crime here. Everybody says there's no crime here. Except for this DA that's got the city out of control with crime. It's absolutely out of control. So we have an NDA that was signed. We have legal expenses. And here's the thing, with legal expenses, you have 100, where they say they do a charge. I just recorded this out. Falsification of business records in the first degree. It sounds so bad. I said, wow. And even my own lawyers, I
Big league.
get very upset with them because they don't say what it is. They say, well, falsification of legal records is only a felony. Well, that's a lot. It's only they say a misdemeanor. But they try and bring it up to a felony if there's 2 crimes. They have all these different things. The other thing is they miss the statute of limitations by a lot.
6 years.
This is very old. They could have brought this
Right.
7 years ago instead of bringing it right in the middle of the election. So they missed the statute of limitations. They did everything. Now let me give you the good news. The good news is last night, we just got a report this morning, in the history of politics, I believe, maybe I'm wrong, but somebody will find that I'm wrong, maybe, but I don't think so. They raised with small money donors, meaning like $21, $42, $53, $38,
Big league.
a record $39 million in about a 10-hour period. No, think of that.
It shut the website. It
like this.
shut the PayPal down or whatever the fuck it is. Not PayPal. Trump don't use PayPal.
Because so far, I guess it's backfired. Now, I don't know. I'd rather not have it happen. I don't want to have it backfire. I want to win this thing legitimately, not because they were stupid and did things that they shouldn't be doing. They shouldn't have brought this case. They were saying it this morning. This is a case that should not have been brought. I watched Andy McCarthy say this is a case that should not have been brought. And that was this morning. But they all say that. Every legal scholar has said it. These are great people that really understand the law. The other thing, a poll just came out. The first poll, I don't know, maybe others will be bad. But a poll just came out a little while ago. The Daily Mail. Does anybody read the Daily Mail?
Fuck
Very
yeah.
good. They have a good poll. At least I like it today. And the Daily Mail just came out with a poll, and it has Trump up 6 points in the last
12 hours.
6 points. 6 points since this happened.
It's gone
Who
up.
thought this could happen?
Because people know it's bullshit.
Because the people of our country know it's a hoax.
Oh.
They know it's a hoax. They get it. You know, they're really
I should
smart,
just let him talk.
and it's really something. So we're going to be appealing this scam. We're going to be appealing it on many different things. He wouldn't allow us to have witnesses. He wouldn't allow us to talk. He wouldn't allow us to do anything. The judge was a tyrant. And you got to see that with Bob Costello. A fine man. I've never seen anything like it. And neither has anybody that was in that courthouse where he demanded that the courthouse be cleared. Now, the good news is most of the people in
Bob
the courthouse
Costello.
were the media.
Isn't he a sportscaster?
And anybody that was in the media, if you're fair, you'll say, wow, that was anger. That was crazy. He was crazy. And the reason that Bob Costello acted a little bit upset, which I think he has a right to, was that every question he was being asked was being objected to by the other side and sustained by the judge. Sustained. I think he did it many times. I don't know what the number is, many times. Even I was sitting there saying, and these were basic questions. And I never saw anybody treated that way by a judge. And I've been treated very badly by 2 other judges also, because it's all the same thing. And it all comes out of the White House. Crooked Joe Biden, the worst president in the history of our country. He's the worst president in the history of our country. The most incompetent. He's the dumbest president we've ever had. He's the dumbest president, the most incompetent president, and he's the most dishonest president we've ever had. And so many of he's a Manchurian candidate. You take a look at the way he treats China, Russia, so many others. You know, I ended the Russian pipeline. It was dead. He comes in and he approves it. And he gets $3.5 million, meaning $3.5 million is paid to the family, his family, from the mayor of Moscow's wife. And I said, where did that come from? Nobody wants to talk about it. But he's a very big danger to our country. And the only way they think they can win this election is by doing exactly what they're doing right now. Win it in the courts because they can't win it at the ballot box. So we're going to show them that we're going to fight. It's actually...
We're going to show this world a thing or two.
Where I'm wired in such a way that a lot of people would have gone away a long time ago. They would have gone away after impeachment hoax #1. That was a total hoax. Had great support from the Republican Party, though. Then you had impeachment hoax number 2. And then they formed the committee. How about they formed the committee of thugs? The J6 committee of thugs. And they took their records and they destroyed all of the records after the committee was abandoned, because those records were great for us. Now, can you imagine if Republicans did that? Everybody would have been in jail by now.
Fuck no.
Think of it. The unselect, I call it the unselect. They call it select committee. I call it the unselect committee of thugs. They meet. It's 100% Democrat and 2 past Republicans that are no longer Republicans, that are no longer in business anymore. Thank you.
Thank you.
But it was all Democrats and 2 wayward Republicans. Liz Cheney
Bitch.
and crying Adam Kinzinger. He cries every time he goes on television.
Cheney's a
He's the most
bitch.
emotional human being I think I've ever seen. And
Fucking
that was our
turncoat.
representatives. These 2 people were our rep. So they had all this stuff that they're leaking. And then when it came time to look at the records, like where the police said and the Capitol Guard said that I supplied, think of it, that I recommended as many soldiers or National Guard as you want. 10,000. If you had 500, you wouldn't have had a problem. There wouldn't have been a J6. But Nancy Pelosi and the group didn't want it. Anyway, so they have testimony to all of that, that I did not attack the Secret Service agent in the front of the truck. You know, these are strong people. And I supposedly went
so
to the
stupid.
driver, and I grabbed him around the neck. And he rebuffed me. And then I went to the other guy, who I think is a black belt in karate. And he's slightly younger than me. Maybe 35 years, 40 years, 50 years. And I grabbed him around the neck and said, "It's a black belt in karate. They know how to get somebody from around their neck. They would have gone like this, and that would be the end of that." Actually, I had a friend that said, "You shouldn't dispute that. That makes you look like the toughest cookie we've ever seen. You should have let that go on." But the fact is, it never happened. It was all made up. And that was proven to be made up. It proved to be a false story. And they deleted and destroyed all of that information, every ounce of it. We're dealing with a corrupt government. We have a corrupt country. Our elections are corrupt. Our borders are open. Our borders are going to be closed very soon. November 5th is going to be the most important day in the history of our country. Now, when I say that, because my people are always saying, do this, because we're fighting for America, DonaldJTrump.com. I hope everybody watching right now, DonaldJTrump.com, because it really makes a difference. They have a lot of money on the other side. I don't know where they get it. Nobody knows where they get it. But for some reason, they get money. But they're not on the side of our country. In many ways, I think they hate our country.
You're so stupid.
Who on earth can want open borders where people are allowed to pour in from countries unknown, from places unknown, from languages that we haven't even heard of? We have people sitting in schools with languages where very few people have ever even heard of these languages. It's not like Spanish or French or Russian. Languages unknown. We have
Swahili.
people coming from corners of the globe, and many of them are not good people. Many terrorists, record levels of terrorism, record levels of terrorists have come into our country. Record. I've never seen anything like it. You know, there was a report that in 2019, I don't believe this, by the way, but media gave it, and it was good for me, believe it or not. They said in 2019, there were no terrorists recorded that came into our country. I don't believe that. I don't think that's possible.
I don't either.
2019 was a Trump year.
I don't either.
I don't believe that that could be possible. But they said no terrorists came into our country. So let's say it was close. Let's say it was close. But now record levels of terrorists, record levels, the highest level we've ever seen of terrorists are pouring into our country. You have China with just in the last few months, 29,000 people came in, and I looked at them on a line, and they look like perfect soldiers. They're almost all male, from 19 to 25. It looks like a
They're forming an army.
exercise. They have beautiful tents. They have propane stoves. They have cell phones, the best you can buy.
I wish I had a remote
I said,
for
what's
this.
going on?
If you don't listen to a word I say, listen to this. Check out all of the military installations that are along the route of where that Chinese balloon actually sailed. They're all over military installations, and are over military installations that hold nuclear weapons, that hold missiles, that are our protection. And this fucking balloon sailed straight through, and we shot it down when it got to the fucking end of the goddamn country. So they already gained all their information. And now we have Chinese immigrants, males, single males coming over between the ages of 18 and 20, I think it was like 24, 25. But it's all military age people that are coming over from China. My buddy actually works for Border Patrol, and he said that Chinese are the number one. Number two, Indian. So that's amazing in itself. We're doomed. If Biden wins again, we're doomed. This border is going to fall apart.
Looks like
Not that it hasn't already.
Our country. Now, I don't think that would happen, right? We're losing our country.
We lost it.
And I really think that this is an event, what took place yesterday with this judge. Look, we have conflicted, but he's a crooked judge. And you'll understand that. And I say that knowing that it's very dangerous
For you, because
and
you'll
I
be
don't
held in
mind,
contempt.
because I'm willing to do whatever I have to do to save our country and to save our Constitution. I don't mind. So thank you.
Thank you.
So we will continue the fight. We're going to make America great again. Very simple. When people fight MAGA, they say, we're going to fight. I watch Biden. We're going to fight MAGA. We're going to stop MAGA. Let's make America great again. That's all it is. MAGA.
MAGA.
Make America
MAGA.
great again. Our country's in serious trouble. We have $36 trillion. We were going to be energy independent for the first time.
You have it on? Do you have it on? There was like 5 people on. I'm going to shut this. People could look in here. No, babe.
The rest are coming in now. The ones that didn't come in. In Venezuela, their prisons have been emptied.
Venezuela.
In the United States. Their criminals and drug dealers have been taken out of the cities and brought into the United States. And that's true with many other countries. The Congo has just released a lot of people from Congo, Africa. Just released a lot of people from their prisons and jails and brought them into the United States of America. This is what's happening to our country. And it's not sustainable by anyone. Little things like our kids can't have a Little League game anymore because you have tents and you have migrants living on the fields. That's the least of it. People are taking over our luxury hotels, migrants, and yet our veterans, our great veterans, are living on the streets.
Fucking hua.
Like dogs, they're living on the streets. But migrants are living in luxury hotels in cities all over our country, run by Democrats. So it's my honor to be doing this. It really is. It's a very unpleasant thing, to be honest. But it's a great, great honor. We're gonna do what I have to do. I'm gonna do it, and the support has been. That's why I mentioned the number of $39 million. That's why I mentioned we're up 6 points, and we went up a lot over the last month because everybody saw it was a rigged deal. It was a rigged trial. But we're gonna make America great again. We're gonna make it better than ever before. November 5th. Remember, November 5th is the most important day in the history of our country. Thank you very much, everybody.
Fucking yeah. Okay. I think because I got to finish this thing. Biddy biddy bop. Funky, funky. Biddy biddy bop. Maybe some Hannity. Hannity gets a little crazy though.
Hannity, and tonight many Americans long suffering from Trump derangement syndrome are downright giddy. But yesterday's verdict is not a cure for their disease. In fact, the Trump campaign, I will argue tonight, is stronger than ever. After the verdict, the former president's campaign said it raised what is a massive record, $34.8 million in just 6 hours. And by the way, that includes their site crashing. Meanwhile, one flash poll showing Donald Trump with a 6-point bump, and the former president himself is now more determined than ever to save our country from political lawfare. Watch this.
This is the case where if they can do this to me, they can do this to anyone. And these are bad people. We weren't allowed to use our election expert under any circumstances. You saw what happened to some of the witnesses that were on our side. They were literally crucified. I don't mind being out there.
Literally?
I'm doing something for this country, and I'm doing something
Was
for
it
our
literally?
Constitution. It's very important, far beyond me. And this can't be allowed to happen to other presidents. It should never be allowed to happen. And it all comes out of the White House. Crooked Joe Biden, the worst president in the history of our country. He's the worst president in the history of our country. The most incompetent. He's the dumbest president we've ever had. He's the dumbest president, most incompetent president.
He calls him dumb.
And he's the most dishonest president we've ever had. And the only way they think they can win this election is by doing exactly what they're doing right now, win it in the courts because they can't win it at the ballot box. So we're going to show them that we're going to fight because I'm willing to do whatever I have to do to save our country and to save our Constitution. I don't mind.
Honored to do it for our country and our Constitution, and he's willing to do it. Donald Trump doesn't need this, but he's right.
He doesn't.
What happened yesterday was not justice. I said from day one, he cannot get a fair trial in New York. He didn't get a fair trial in New York. And Mar-a-Lago is not worth $18 million. This was a result.
So I did the outline. Now I'm going to do the inside
trial, shedding the Constitution, shedding the rule of law, all in an effort to weaponize our justice system. This is what a dual justice system looks like. But today, we heard a much different message from your current president, Joey, who praised America's justice system. Take a look.
This is fucking crazy.
That no one is above the law.
Okay, hopefully they show the fucking look he gives when he's walking out. They're ushering him out. And this is awesome because I don't know if you ever saw those blinds that separate the rooms. They're like fucking 6 feet high or whatever the fuck they are. They're dividers. They have the divider going to the door and he's walking towards the fucking, well, like a fucking robot. You know what he moves like? A fucking Roomba. Did you ever see a fucking Roomba? It just, everything is programmed. Did you ever notice that? It's fucking weird. Okay, but anyway, Roomba walks out of there and gives the weirdest look. Like a look like I fucking got you. So if you haven't seen it, you have to look at that. It's the final look before he leaves. But this guy's a fuck Joe Biden.
Donald Trump was given every opportunity to defend himself. It was a state case,
fucking crooked.
not a federal case. It was heard by a jury of 12 citizens, 12 Americans,
Democrats.
12 people like you. It's reckless. It's dangerous. It's irresponsible for anyone to say this was rigged just because they don't like the verdict.
Fucking
Our
bastard.
justice system has endured for nearly 250 years. And it literally is the cornerstone of America. Our justice system.
Shut up.
The justice system should be respected.
What is reckless,
Unless it's run by you.
irresponsible is the weaponization
Cocksucker.
of his Justice Department. And to allow this to happen, all the details we've been giving you and all our legal experts have been giving you over the many weeks that this trial has gone on. Donald Trump was tried on a novel legal theory by an ADA who, by the way, campaigned on his ability to get Trump. Really?
Here's a list of
You gotta be
kangaroo
kidding me.
court.
During a trial overseen by a partisan Biden donating judge, convicted after just a few hours of deliberations by a jury of MSDNC fans selected from a district that voted up to, 90% for Joe Biden? This is a headline from the very liberal New York magazine, quote, prosecutors got Trump, but they contorted the law. That article, written by fake news CNN, senior legal analyst, even a blind squirrel gets a nut, right? And he wrote, quote, the charges against Trump are obscure and nearly entirely unprecedented. Then he said, no state prosecutor in
That's
New
by
York
CNN.
or Wyoming or anywhere has ever charged federal election laws as a direct or predicate state crime against anyone for anything. None, ever. Democratic prosecutors in the state of New York, city of New York, including a former top official, the third top official at Biden's own DOJ, along with this radical Democratic judge, twisted the law into a pretzel in order to convict the leading Republican presidential candidate in the middle of an election.
Fucking
So,
shady.
you're not going to hear any complaints from Joe Biden or any other Democrat or their allies in the media mob tell Americans no one is above the law. Well, of course not going to. There are a notable few exceptions, including one.
Unless you're Biden.
Himself. Really? Okay. Now, a special counsel recently declined to charge President Biden with mishandling classified documents. His 4 locations never got raided. His home never got raided, despite ample evidence.
He had shit in the garage next to his Corvette.
Decades. Well, they concluded, well, he's probably a nice old man. He's going to come off nice to a jury, and he's just going to seem forgetful, so we're not going to prosecute him. Why didn't they raid his house? Why didn't they raid Hillary Clinton's house? The exact same allegations. Donald Trump is currently awaiting a criminal trial for the mishandling of classified documents over a few months. Hillary Clinton also is above the law like Joe. In 2016, James Comey, the July 2016 press conference. What did she do? She mishandled top secret classified documents on her servers, illicit private servers she never should have had. Infamously, Comey saying no reasonable prosecutor would ever prosecute, Hillary Clinton during an election, according to Comey, right? But that's not all. After Hillary Clinton and the DNC were caught mislabeling payments for that dirty disinformation Russian dossier as a legal expense, remember, it was funneled through a law firm that hired an op research firm that hired Christopher Steele, that led to a dirty Russian disinformation dossier that resulted in not one but 4 separate FISA warrants issued, 3 signed by James Comey himself. No criminal charges ever brought. Both Clinton, the DNC, they were allowed to settle that matter quietly with a simple fine for the FEC that said, in this case, had they been allowed to testify, no crime was committed, no violation was committed. And keep in mind, Trump was convicted of 34 felonies for allegedly mislabeling a payment to a lawyer as a legal expense. But we can right this ship. You have the power. The ultimate verdict lies with you. Donald Trump could finish what he started in 2016. That's when Trump destroyed Hillary Clinton at the ballot box. Now, today, she's still deeply unhappy and bitter. Instead of serving as the president of this country, Hillary now is selling mugs on Instagram. In 2016, the U.S. justice system never held her accountable. The American people did. And this year, you have an opportunity to render the final verdict at the ballot box. That's the only verdict that will ultimately matter. Here with reaction, President Trump's attorney in this case. He argued the case. Todd Blanche is with us. You ever see a case like this in your life?
Fuck no.
Yeah, of course not. And neither is anybody else. I don't stand alone there. I've practiced law in New York for 15 years, and nobody has ever seen a case like this before, and hopefully nobody ever will again. Yeah, well, hopefully they'll never again. Let's talk a little bit.
No, hopefully it will Biden.
What your expectations were. Yeah, I've gone through the list. You have a Biden donor judge. You have family conflicts. You have a DA that ran on a Get Trump campaign. Mar-a-Lago is still, I guess, valued at $18 million, according to Judge Erdogan, when it's closer to $1 billion. But more importantly, this novel legal theory. Then, of course, the broad latitude given to the defense in closing arguments to make statements that are factually inaccurate to the jury over and over again. You would say you would object, that would be overruled. And then the judge himself, a novel legal concept that goes against not one but two separate Supreme Court decisions. And that's a short
Why do
list.
I keep drinking my beers?
Blanche, I want you to respond to all of it. Look, we knew this was a problem the day that the indictment was handed down. So it wasn't April 15th that we realized that we had up against a battle that would be virtually impossible to win. That happened a year ago, and we've been fighting this case for over a year with the judge, with the district attorney, trying to understand what the charges were, what the underlying crimes were, and we got no answer. We really got no answer until the trial started. Think about that. And it turns out that the crime that was charged, the original crime is a misdemeanor, bumped up to a felony if it's supposed to cover up another crime. The other crime that was being covered up was another misdemeanor, a state law election violation that required unlawful means, and that's where they decided to use a federal election law, tax law, and other false records filing, completely confusing the jury, confusing everybody. So this was a fight for the past year and a half with this system and this judge, and we knew going in that we were going to have a really tough road, and we did have a really tough road. And the person that comes up on top, though, in my mind, without a doubt, is President Trump. And you saw that last night. You saw that today in his press conference, where he told the American people exactly what he thought happened and exactly what he was going to do today and tomorrow. And we're going to fight. Look, this case is ripe for appeal.
Papa.
I did not want to have to appeal this case. I wanted to win it at trial, and we didn't. But this case, we're going to appeal it, and I fully expect that we'll be fully exonerated on appeal. Let's talk about the appeal, and let's talk about next steps. Obviously, can you get an expedited appeal, considering the circumstances under which the severity of violations, constitutional violations? What do you expect as the next step? We hope to get an expedited appeal. And look, the next step is the sentencing on July 11th, and our goal there is quite simple, and that's to keep the leading candidate for president of the United States out of prison. And that's what we're going to try to do, and he shouldn't go to prison. Putting aside the fact the law suggests that somebody like him should never go to prison for this crime. He was the president of the United States, and he under no circumstances should spend a day in prison, and that's what we're going to be asking the judge to do, is to not sentence him to prison. But no matter the sentence, whatever it is, we're going to immediately appeal. And you're right, Sean, we have all kinds of stuff to appeal. This was a novel case. The district attorney said yesterday, and he said it a year ago, this is the bread and butter. This is what they always do. That is not true. That is just not a true statement. There is not a single case that anybody has showed me in a year that is anything like the case that this district attorney brought. You're talking about communications that took place in the year of our Lord, 2015.
The year of our Lord.
2016. Records from 2017 on President Trump's personal accounts while he was in the White House, running this country as a leader of the free world. That's not a normal case. That's not bread and butter. Let me ask you this. You talked about July 11th. By the way, ironically, 4 days before the Republican convention. Somebody, Class C felonies, somebody with no prior history of any conviction of any kind, former president, in the middle of a campaign, you would think that the judge would release him on his own recognizance. He's certainly not a flight risk. He's got Secret Service around him. And pending appeal.
Home restriction.
Nothing about this judge would surprise me. Is he going to give home confinement? Will he dare put Donald Trump in jail? Do you have any thoughts about where this is headed? I hope.
First offense, non-violence.
July 11th, working to make sure that there is no jail sentence. I don't know what Judge Merchan will do. I think he knows that he's been a judge for a long time. He knows the law, and I hope that he sentences appropriately. But But no matter the sentence, we hope that it's stayed for sure pending appeal because it's not even all Judge Rashan, right? It's a district attorney that brought this case, and there's a lot of things that need to be appealed.
No, it's Michonne.
The last question, will you go to the appellate court, the Supreme Court, both?
Both. Look, we're not going to stop fighting. I mean, everybody's talking on your show and on other shows about going right to the Supreme Court. We're going to do whatever we can. If that means we're going to the First Department and the New York Court of Appeals and the Supreme Court, that's what we're going to do. If we can go right to the Supreme Court, that's what we're going to do. We're going to do whatever we can. There's no option that we're slamming the door on. This has been a travesty of justice for over a year and a half. Sean, you said this before, but it's worth just before we go. This investigation was open. This grand jury was started less than 2 months after President Trump announced he was running for re-election. Right after he announced he's running for re-election, Alvin Bragg's prosecutors called the Southern District of New York and said, hey, can we have the most incriminating evidence that you have from your case? And then they indicted shortly thereafter. That's a fact.
That's
And
a
you
fact,
didn't even know
man.
the charge up until, I don't even know if you to this day know what the real charge is. Well, will that be a clear constitutional violation? All right, Todd Blanche, thank you. We'll be watching closely. Here with reaction, George Washington University law professor and Fox News contributor Jonathan Turley. A lot of what I brought up with Todd are things that we have gone
Mr. Turley.
into great detail on. What was your reaction to what he said?
Well, I obviously they're already hard at work. They have to explore their options. I'm a little skeptical about trying to leapfrog to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court just turned down an effort by Special Counsel Smith to expedite his cases. I doubt they're going to want to do that for former President Trump. So they're likely to have to go through the state system. But this is a target-rich environment for appeal. I know that there's been great celebration in Manhattan. This is something of a thrill pill conviction. But that may not last long under review. If the New York courts don't...
Anybody that doesn't think this guy isn't having a goddamn Mai Tai somewhere.
There are layers.
Enjoying his win.
By Judge Rashan.
Marchand.
Professor, I know you worked hard all week. Thank
Is he
you
French?
for sharing all your time with us. We appreciate it. We go now to the author of the book, Get Trump, Harvard law professor Alan Dershowitz, Fox News legal analyst. Greg Jarrett is with us. Greg, let me start with you. Let me start with the question of what is next? What should be next? If you're advising...
I want to put music on.
What would you advise them? What would the next steps be as we head into this July 11th sentencing?
Well, I think you have to look to an appeal. And, higher court judges in New York, Sean, are just like Rashan. I mean, they're mini me's. This is a liberal, politically driven club. They protect their own. So I'm not optimistic at the former president's chances to overturn the conviction, which means that Trump's only real relief is in the federal courts. But that's the proper venue anyway, because as Jonathan pointed out, most of the egregious violations by the judge, these were constitutional due process rights. For example, refusing to tell the defendant what this conspiracy crime was that we still don't know. That's a clear violation of the Sixth Amendment. And then, of course, telling the jury they can forget all about unanimity. That is a bedrock constitutional right derived from the Sixth and Seventh Amendment. Judge Rashan made a mockery of that, as well as justice, with a multitude of reversible errors that are quite shocking, I think, to everyone. And it's not, it is the federal courts, not state courts, that they're the ones who tend to scrupulously guard our due process rights. So, there may be a dual track here. You've got to go through the state system. Maybe you'll get lucky and, some judges with a conscience who are schooled in the law will look at this and say, this is fundamentally wrongly reversed. But I think in the end, it's going to be the federal courts, maybe even the Supreme Court, that corrects this incredible injustice.
Yeah, let's get your take, Professor. And what would the next steps be for you if you were talking to President Trump's attorney?
I would do something quite radical. I would move immediately for the sentencing to occur next week, not July 11th.
so that you can get the appeal going. You can't appeal until there's a sentence. If the court refused to expedite the sentencing, I would try to take the case now immediately to the New York Court of Appeals, skipping the Intermediate Court of Appeals, which is a political court, Manhattan-based, Democrats largely. I would try to go right to the Court of Appeals and ask them for a decision within 30 days in order to get to the Supreme Court before the election. There's no reason to have the sentencing delayed until July 11th. The judge knows what he's going to do.
Professor.
And the Supreme Court will be good because it's actually loaded with conservatives. Before Trump had actually left, he voted a couple in. Kavanaugh being the biggest one, and everybody hates Kavanaugh. All the Democrats do. They tried fucking booting him during the goddamn his hearings. Everybody knows about the Kavanaugh hearings where they said that he raped somebody or sexually molested somebody, but they couldn't remember the date. They couldn't remember where. They couldn't remember. Come on.
Why would you have any confidence that Judge Mershon would expedite the sentencing? Because to me, I think the obvious thing to do if it was him would be to say, all right, you're released on your own recognizance pending appeal. I don't have faith he'll do that.
No, that's not the point. The point is to impose the sentence now so that there can be an appeal. If the judge refuses, as he would, take the case to the Court of Appeals and say, Your Honors, we want the sentencing to be done now so we can appeal. If the judge refuses to allow the sentencing to impose, Your Honors, let us appeal now. We're not going to appeal necessarily the sentencing now. We're going to appeal the conviction. So I would do everything to expedite this. Timing is everything.
Very dangerous times for a constitutional republic. Very dangerous. Thank you both. Great, thank you. But it was fun being on Fox Nation with you yesterday. And Professor, thank you. When we come back, Laura Trump is here. She'll react to the Biden campaign reportedly celebrating Trump's guilty verdict and Judge Imperial. All coming up straight ahead. All right, earlier today, as a reminder, President Biden offered his first public comments on Donald Trump's conviction. Let's take a look.
Donald Trump was given every opportunity to defend himself. It was a state case, not a federal case. And it was heard by a jury of 12 citizens.
Fuck you.
12 Americans, 12 people like you. Now he'll be given the opportunity.
Not like me, motherfucker.
To appeal that decision just like everyone else has that opportunity.
Like me.
That's how the American system of justice works. And it's reckless. It's dangerous. It's irresponsible for anyone to say this was rigged just because they don't like the verdict.
Can you tell us, sir?
We'll remember that when your kid.
Trump
Oh, here it is.
himself as a political prisoner and blames you directly. What's your response to that, sir?
Look at that fucking look.
Campaign? We'd love to hear your thoughts, sir.
Should he not be on the ballot, sir?
He didn't have permission to talk. Anyway,
he didn't.
That smile at the end there possibly gives an idea of how Joe really feels. And apparently his staff,
shady motherfucker,
reporting yesterday that Biden aides in the West Wing, they were glued to their TV as the verdict was being announced. ABC News reported that Biden campaign headquarters broke into cheers after hearing the news. Now, the Biden campaign started rising as soon as the verdict broke, saying that the only way to keep Trump out of the White House is at the ballot box and asking for money that they're definitely going to need. Because with the trial over, Trump for now is free to campaign around the country. He's not stuck in a courtroom. And whenever and wherever he wants to go, and his campaign said to Biden, their campaign needs to buckle up. Here was reaction. By the way, author, ironically, in light of the news this week of the new book, Never Give Up Pup, RNC co-chair Laura Trump. The illustrations are phenomenal, but a little ironic. I'm not sure. I mean, I listened to your father-in-law today talk about an honor to do it. It's beyond me. This can't be allowed to happen to other presidents, shouldn't be allowed to happen in the future, and that he's willing to put it all on the line and kind of never give up. And which I thought was pretty inspiring.
It was so inspiring, honestly. And the message that he gave, that you heard
I'm going to turn her because I hate her.
Is the message that we probably should have heard from the actual president, Joe Biden, which is This never should ever happen to any president.
Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Okay. All right, let's switch this up a little. Oh, 70-year-old demon documentary, Kiss Gene Simmons.
Hello. I had a statement to say. You were banned on Twitter or whatever because you dead named somebody. You seem kind of proud about, not proud, but it just wasn't seemed wrong to you that you were dead naming somebody. I get it. You know, if it was a mistake, that's fine.
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't? Okay. Well, okay, then you're proud of it. That does not make it right. I think
Dumb bitch.
as generations go on, we become more accepting to things. And I think that even if you don't like somebody, it's not a good idea to normalize dead naming.
Yeah, so can you explain to our audience what is dead naming? You probably know it better than I do.
Is when somebody transitions and they choose a new name conforming to their gender. So if their name
Like
was
the one
Lisa
behind
before
you.
and they changed it to Jack, if you call them Lisa before that, or Lisa after they transition, that is dead naming.
What's wrong with that?
I think it's very wrong because I have a lot of trans friends, and if they were dead named, it would be, I mean, shattering to them because it's something that is so personal to them.
Shattering.
Shattering?
Yes. Yes. I mean, it's who they are now. People don't transition just for the hell of it, you know?
Yes, they do.
It's a very personal thing to them. They don't do it to appeal to the other gender or whatnot.
Yeah, so but let's think about it. Isn't it part of their biography? Can you really erase history and act as if that wasn't your name for a while? For example, it was another name than Rachel Levine.
Well, why do names matter so much? I mean, it's what you want to be called. It's just a title for you.
But it's part of your biography, right? It's a fact that a man who now thinks he's a woman had a family, got married, and then magically decided to no longer be a man. I was talking facts, so your problem would be with telling them a biography?
Well, I mean, it's not as deep as you think it is. It's just somebody.
What?
It's them now, and it's just being respectful.
Oh, okay, but it's being respectful by not being able to act as if they were something that they weren't. Isn't their whole identity in being no longer what they were? So it
No,
shouldn't shatter
it's
them.
not their
It should be
identity.
empower them.
No.
So then why do they call themselves trans if it's not their whole identity?
Well, they don't. People don't go out saying, "Guess what? I'm trans."
Yes, they do.
That's Twitter. That's Twitter. I can guarantee you.
And TikTok and most campuses and the trans groups and the trans flag and the trans parade and the trans music and the trans stuff. People say they're trans all the time. If the change is not part of their identity, then why do they call themselves trans?
Well, I mean, it's just a title. Everybody, like, our society is more, we want titles for just about everything.
I agree. So I don't accept the title, and I should have a right not to accept it.
Well, everybody has a right to be respected.
Then what are you asking your question for?
You don't have a right to be respected. You have a right to speak. You have to earn respect in a decent society.
Okay, I'm sorry. I want to fully understand what you mean. Like.
Yeah. So, for example, I don't respect the Unabomber.
Okay.
That's an extreme example.
Okay.
I don't respect people that perform abortions.
Okay.
I don't respect people that medically mutilate children.
Okay.
And I don't respect someone that is taking Lupron and says they're a man all of a sudden and demands I comply. That's not the way the world works. Respect must be earned.
I think respect is just a give. Like it's a base thing. It's not like I'm going to go into this room and say I disrespect every single one of you because you don't believe what I believe or you're not presenting how I want.
A biography should not be eliminated because someone demands respect. For example, I can say that Muhammad Ali used to be called Cassius Clay, part of his life. And then he found Islam and he decided to be called something else. And all of a sudden you get this rancor and this uproar that somehow I'm being hateful and no longer worthy of a Twitter platform because I said a fact that Levine had a name
and a family and was a man and then claims he's a woman.
I'm a man, baby.
All of a sudden, history and facts can be erased. We are dangerously approaching a 1984 dystopian world control scenario that I don't think any of us should entertain. Final thoughts?
Okay, to wrap it up, my point was basically just I think it's better to normalize or not normalize, but like not put out that it's okay to do these things.
Yes.
Thank you for being here tonight.
Sir. Suki Sue. That's our Suki Sue. I sent Louie a message telling him that I was going to do this. I wish I could play some freaking music. Something is humming. Oh, forgot to turn my machine off. All right, let's turn where'd that go? Look at, here's one. He is good people, man. Definitely good people. Gene Simmons. I can't, well.
Thank you all for being here. Mr. Spiegel, I see you hiding down there.
Oh, I subscribe to you, Charles.
Yada, yada, yada mean? It's showtime.
You got to put some shit out. I want to see what's in your mind.
Very uncool. Can we agree that what you do, not what you say, what you do is what you believe and everything else is just cottage cheese?
What the fuck?
Yes, Senator. You agree with that? Speak up. Don't be shy. I've listened to you today. I've heard a lot of yada, yada, yada. And I've heard you talk about the reforms you've made. And I appreciate them. And I've heard you talk about the reforms you're going to make. But I don't think you're going to solve the problem. I think Congress is going to have to help you. I think the reforms you're talking about to some extent are going to be like putting paint on rotten wood.
What the fuck?
And I'm not sure you're going to support this legislation. I'm not. The fact is that you and some of your internet colleagues who are not here are no longer, you're not companies, you're countries.
Okay.
You're very, very powerful. And you and some of your colleagues who are not here have blocked everything we have tried to do in terms of reasonable regulation.
That's bad.
It is, sir.
Everything from privacy to child exploitation. And
Kennedy's
in fact,
the best.
We have a new definition of recession. A recession is when we know we're in a recession when Google has to lay off 25 members of Congress. That's what we're down to. We're also down to this fact that your platforms are hurting children. I'm not saying they're not doing some good things, but they're hurting children. And I know how to count votes, and if this bill comes to the floor of the United States Senate, it will pass. What we're going to have to do,
I wish I could play some music,
with
man.
all the respect I can muster, is convince
You know what?
my good friend Senator Schumer to.
They're going to ban it. What do? They freaking turn it off? Oh, my daughter's home. Trump is all over the freaking news.
Donald Trump going scorched earth on his guilty verdict, and Joe Biden doing a victory lap on the left's successful lawfare campaign. The president telling millions of Republicans that they have no right to call the trial rigged.
Okay.
The American principle that no one is above the law was reaffirmed. Donald Trump was given every opportunity to defend himself.
Fuck you.
It was a state case.
Fuck
not a federal
you.
case, and it's reckless.
Charles, do you believe that shit?
It's dangerous.
Do you believe
It's
that he was given a
irresponsible
fair chance?
for anyone to say this was
Let me
rigged
ask Charles.
just
Charles knows
because they
everything.
don't like the verdict.
The big guy then sporting a goofy grin as he ignored questions from reporters. Watch this.
Mr. President, can you tell us, sir, Donald Trump refers to himself as a political prisoner and blames you directly. What's your response to that, sir?
Fucking weirdo.
Do you think the conviction will have an impact on the campaign? We'd love to hear your thoughts, sir.
Wow.
Be on the ballot, sir?
Should he be on the ballot, sir?
Before Biden's lecture on norms, the Democrats spoke. Donald Trump went off on the verdict for about 40 minutes and says he's ready to fight.
If they can do this to me, they can do this to anyone. These are bad people. I'm the leading person for president, and I'm under a gag order by a man that can't put two sentences together. It was a rigged trial. We wanted a venue change where we could have a fair trial. We didn't get it. We wanted a judge change. We wanted a judge that wasn't conflicted. And obviously he didn't do that. Crime is rampant in New York. Yesterday in McDonald's, you had a man
You're absolutely right,
hitting him
man.
up with machetes.
There's no way he was going to get a fair trial.
Bragg is down watching a trial. This is bigger than Trump. This is
What's amazing, Charles, is the fact that they don't televise it. Most trials they televise. I don't know why they didn't televise this one. I think this one would have been fucking crazy on court TV. Hi, Mama. Papa. Papa, attack. Oh, Suki. Suki Sue. Feds don't see. I didn't know that because I've been to court. I mean, obviously, I'm retired, but I didn't do any Fed cases. Fucking Rashawn. Cock. What a fucking cock. You know what he's gonna? Oh, you know what he's gonna make is I promise you, he's gonna be on what's that Men of the Year bullshit? Fucking People magazine or some fucking bullshit. You're absolutely right, sir. God, I think my beers have holes in them. Wave. Come here, Charles. Here's my daughter. Just put your hand right here. Just wave. She's rude. What are you doing? Where are you going? When my kids are here, I have to restrain myself from watching politics because I get crazy. Like sports games, man. I go fucking crazy. Oh, see? I try not to do that. Start dropping that F-bomb like it's
It's this fucking thing. Can you hear me now? Hold on, let me see. See, usually I would have somebody sitting here that would tell me that my audio is gone, but my wife doesn't love me. Okay.
Hi, Charles.
Did you hear that? That's funny. My wife's giving you a shout out. She didn't even give me a shout out. Here I am live and she's watching makeup stuff. He said, hello, Mrs. Irish. Well, what do you think, Charles? Do you think Louie would go for that one? I think that's going to be it. This is just going to be a short one. I just wanted to do this one for Louie in remembrance of Suki Sue, because we lost our sweet Bella about a month earlier. You know what's crazy, Charles? Expensive, right? When I first got it, I was carrying it like this. Like I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to damage it. You could tell my intoxication level by the way that I throw it around now. I'm going to try to. I'm going to try to, man. I don't know. I hit him up. Huh? Okay. So I hit him up a while ago and told him, because he's in Southern California, he's down in LA. So I told him that if he wants, I could give him free ink. And I think he's going to take me up on it. I think the biggest problem that people have with getting tattoos in homes is, A, are they psycho? To alleviate that, I was a military contractor, I was in the military, and I was a veteran. So yeah, I am crazy. So that takes that off the scorecard right there. But I think Louie would like it. And he could bring Roxy girl. Oh, Roxy. He does like road trips. And usually, when I do these tattoos, I give myself the same tattoo. That's why I have so many here. But I don't think I'm gonna get Suki on me. That one's for Louie alone. Charles, when you come out here to Vegas, man, we're gonna have a beer together. Or several. Oh, yep, Bella. This is one I did. I just did that one. But here's my sweet Bella. My mama. That's the one. Yeah, that's the one that my wife is gonna get on her back. So I'm gonna do this one probably I don't know, this week or next week. We're gonna see. But that's it, dude. I just did a short one. It's quick. What time is it? Que horas? It's 8:30. Yeah, all I'm gonna do is just add like flames and stuff to this, and I think that's it. But I'm gonna hit Louie up and just let him know to watch this thing. If you talk to him as well, let him know that you saw it and you thought it was cool, and hopefully he gets it, man. That'd be awesome. So I'm out of here, bro. Dude, thank you so much for stopping by. I could always count on you, Charles. And I'll hit you up again, bro. Later.